Holy shit. He said what?
Doria Ragland has said enough is enough. I'm moving out of Montecito for good.
I've never really seen them. 5 quiet words, but when spoken by Doria Ragland, Meghan Markle's own mother, they hit like a thunderclap.
And it's pretty brutal, actually.
If Meghan's mother has never truly seen Archie or Lilibet, then what has the world been looking at all these years?
Meghan Markle has now been abandoned by her mom after the Duchess begged, "Don't leave me."
The world saw perfection, the smiling mother, the royal children, the sunlit Montecito mansion. But perfection has a price, and behind those carefully framed photos, something didn't feel real.
She's seen how her daughter's lies have been exposed. She's seen how her daughter uses people.
Whispers began to surface from inside the house. A woman who once worked there described rooms that looked lived in but never were. Toys placed with precision, blankets folded too neatly, no fingerprints, no laughter, no sound.
And as a calm yogi, she simply doesn't want to put up with it.
And then came Doria's words again. She said it felt like a movie set, beautiful but empty. That single sentence tore through the silence like a siren, because if even their grandmother never saw Archie and Lilibet, then who did?
She got sick of the constant moaning and the dramas.
This isn't rumor. These are testimonies from those who lived behind those gates, who saw everything, and yet somehow saw nothing at all. They say truth hides in plain sight, but in this story, it might be hiding behind the camera, and that's where our story begins. Doria's quiet confession didn't come from gossip. It came from exhaustion.
The reality is not that. The reality is she's a joke. It's embarrassing at this point.
For years, she stood at the edge of Meghan's world, watching the cameras flash, the interviews roll, and the stories multiply. Yet in all the photo ops and PR perfect smiles, something was missing. The children who were supposed to be at the heart of it all. People close to Meghan describe her Montecito life not as peaceful motherhood, but as performance art. Every outing felt rehearsed, every image curated. Staff say she would arrive with stylists, publicists, and security, but never with Archie or Lilibet. When asked about them, her answers were vague, rehearsed, and strangely detached. The woman who claimed to crave privacy somehow managed to live entirely on camera, yet kept the most basic truths out of sight. And then there's the timeline. Meghan's home life was sold to the public like a Netflix script, polished, tearful, marketable. But those who actually stepped inside that house described a different story, a chill in the air, a silence that didn't match the fairy tale. Even Doria, the one person who should have been closest, was kept at a distance, permitted to watch the brand, but not the reality. Behind the soft speeches and expensive wardrobe, Meghan wasn't building a home. She was building an image, one that required everyone, even her mother, to play along. But when Doria slipped and told the truth, the illusion cracked, and Meghan's performance started to unravel. The official story of Meghan Markle's motherhood was flawless, almost too flawless. Every magazine spread painted her as the perfect modern royal, balancing compassion, motherhood, and celebrity like a saint wrapped in designer fabric. The cameras captured her cradling Archie, smiling at charity events, and strolling through sunny California gardens. But those images, perfectly timed and strategically released, felt less like memories and more like marketing. Behind palace gates, the narrative was airtight. Every milestone came with press releases, every appearance accompanied by professional lighting and controlled access. The story was written, edited, and rehearsed long before the world ever saw it. Yet there were cracks, small, almost invisible at first, dates that didn't line up, photos that looked off, and statements that contradicted each other. Nothing explosive, just subtle inconsistencies that, together, whispered that something wasn't quite right. It was supposed to be the fairy tale sequel, the American Duchess escaping royal cruelty, creating her dream family in California. But neighbors rarely saw children. Paparazzi, usually relentless, never caught a single candid moment of Archie or Lilibet. The playgrounds near their estate, always empty. The streets, silent.
But this woman is a fake. Meghan Markle is a complete fake. Everything about her is fake and contrived.
And then came the most curious part. Even when Meghan's team released family footage, viewers noticed odd details, changing interiors, shifting backdrops, children whose faces were blurred, angles that avoided clarity, every clip carefully constructed to protect privacy. Yes, but perhaps also to protect the illusion. Because for Meghan, reality was never the priority. Perception was. According to the former maid, the Montecito mansion wasn't just quiet, it was unsettling. She described a house too perfect, too symmetrical, as if someone had built a showroom rather than a family home. Every cushion aligned, every photo frame spotless, every scent calculated. It felt less like children lived there and more like a lifestyle magazine come to life. It was like walking through a staged dream, she recalled, a dream that no one actually lived in. The strangest part wasn't the silence. No toys scattered across the floor, no clothes drying by the window, no baby cries echoing down the hall. Instead, there was the faint hum of air purifiers, the distant chatter of staff who never mentioned the kids, and Meghan's voice, sharp, demanding, always echoing echoing through the polished halls. When Meghan appeared, she wasn't the serene mother seen on camera. Staff described her as tense, restless, obsessed with how things looked rather than how they felt. She'd sweep through rooms adjusting decor, giving orders, ensuring the image of perfection never slipped, as if someone were always watching. And when Harry tried to calm her, the tension only deepened. Then came the night no one forgot. Raised voices behind a locked door, the unmistakable sound of an argument. Meghan's words, cold and cutting, sliced through the silence until Marcus Anderson stepped in. The house grew still again. But from that night on, even the staff whispered that something inside the walls had broken. The maid's unease deepened when she realized something even stranger. During all her time there, she had never once seen Meghan visibly pregnant. Not in passing, not in photos around the home, not even in the personal spaces where clothes were kept. There were no maternity gowns, no baby products stored away, no signs of prenatal life anywhere. For a household supposedly welcoming 2 royal babies, it felt oddly sterile. Staff began whispering among themselves, careful not to speak too loudly. Some believed Meghan's pregnancies had been private for security reasons, while others weren't so sure. The timeline didn't add up. The bump in public appearances seemed to change in size from one event to another.
And the 2 main feeders of the rumours, according to Lady C's book, Meghan was too big for, well, I suppose her first baby, and also too big for the fact of only having 1 child, and she seemed to be too big at the wrong time.
And when the press questioned inconsistencies, the response was always the same: silence or a statement about privacy. One staff member recalled hearing the phrase, "everything must look authentic," before a magazine shoot. Another noticed that the nursery, once rumored to be lavishly designed, stayed closed for months, untouched. Its lights rarely switched on. Even deliveries of baby items were peculiar. Boxes labeled props rather than toys or clothes. When Meghan finally re-emerged in the public eye after each birth, she appeared flawless, perfectly styled, glowing, and camera-ready. No exhaustion, no hesitation, no trace of new mother. It was as if the entire experience had been rehearsed, filmed, and edited before it ever happened. Inside the mansion, whispers turned to fear. Was this about privacy or about maintaining a storyline that could never be questioned? Weeks turned into months, and the silence inside the Montecito estate became impossible to ignore. The maid, who had worked in several family homes before, said she couldn't shake one haunting detail. She never once heard the sound of children. No laughter, no crying, no tiny footsteps running down the hall. The house was large, echoing, and immaculate, but it felt hollow, like a stage between scenes. Every morning, she'd clean the same untouched nursery. The crib remained perfectly made, its sheets crisp and unwrinkled, a rocking chair that never moved, toys arranged in symmetrical lines like props placed for display. Even the baby monitor was spotless, showing no signs of use. It was as if the idea of children existed, but not the children themselves. When visitors came, the staff received clear instructions: keep doors closed, avoid questions, and never mention Archie or Lilibet by name. Guests were led through selected rooms only, the picturesque ones meant to mirror the images Meghan and Harry had shared with the world. But the bedrooms, the play areas, off limits, locked. Some workers started to believe the children were elsewhere, hidden away from both family and staff. Others suspected something darker, that they were never there at all, but no one dared to ask Meghan directly. Her temper, they said, was unpredictable. One wrong word could cost a job. Still, the question lingered in every corner of that empty house. Where were Archie and Lilibet? Because for a home built around the image of family, it carried none of its warmth. When Meghan and Harry's Netflix documentary aired, the maid, by then long dismissed from the Montecito staff, sat down to watch it out of curiosity. But within minutes, she felt an icy chill of recognition mixed with disbelief.
It throws into doubt everything she posts on her social media, like, are the children real? Has she changed the hair color, which keeps on going up and down grades?
The house shown on screen wasn't the same home she had worked in. The layout, the windows, even the staircase, all subtly different. The kitchen in the series faced sunlight from the wrong direction, and the hallway decor looked like a designer's replica, not the real thing. At first, she thought she was mistaken. Maybe they had renovated, but as the scenes continued, her confusion deepened. The children's play area shown in the documentary didn't exist in the house she knew. The garden path was different too. In reality, that stretch of greenery led nowhere. Here, it led to a picture-perfect bench where Meghan sat, narrating her pain to the camera. Every detail was pristine, cinematic, unreal. The production claimed to show their authentic life, yet everything looked constructed, from the lighting to the way Meghan cradled the baby's hand that never fully appeared on screen. Even Harry seemed rehearsed, repeating lines that echoed their interviews word for word. For the maid, it felt like watching a movie filmed on a set, pretending to be their home. She recognized furniture pieces that had been rented from a staging company months earlier. It was all too precise, too perfect, the illusion of authenticity carefully framed for millions. And that's when she realized the truth no one dared to say out loud. Maybe what the world saw on Netflix wasn't their life at all. Maybe it was their version of it. Behind the gates of Montecito, control was everything. Every Every movement, every word, every image that left the property passed through Meghan's approval. Staff were required to hand in their phones before shifts, cameras were banned, and even conversations about the family were off limits. The atmosphere was suffocating, a constant reminder that privacy wasn't just preferred, it was enforced. Former staff said it felt like working inside a fortress, not a home. Every window had tinted glass, every entry monitored. Deliveries came through secondary gates, logged and inspected. Meghan's team ran the estate like a production studio. Timed schedules, signed NDAs, and endless rehearsals for perfection. Nothing spontaneous, nothing real. Those who questioned instructions were swiftly replaced. Meghan demanded silence, not just from the media, but from the people who saw behind her performance. It wasn't about protection, it was about preservation of her image, her narrative, her control. Even Harry seemed distant, more like a supporting role than a partner. His words followed hers, his presence muted, and in that silence, the illusion stood unchallenged, a carefully guarded kingdom built on secrecy, managed like a brand, and hidden from the very truth it claimed to protect. If even Meghan's own mother hasn't seen Archie and Lilibet, then what truth has the world been fed? That question lingers, heavy and unresolved.
People like Meghan will always stay with the man if there's no better option.
As the last image fades, a mother crying on camera, defending a story that no one can seem to verify. For years, Meghan built her reputation on visibility, on being heard, seen, adored. Yet when it comes to her children, visibility vanishes. The people closest to her whisper contradictions, while the public is left with perfectly edited glimpses that reveal nothing at all. Maybe that's the point. Maybe mystery has become part of the brand, the ultimate shield against accountability. Because when no one knows what's real, no one can question what's false. Doria's quiet admission didn't just expose a family secret, it exposed a strategy, one where truth is managed like publicity and authenticity is optional. As the lights dim on the narrative Meghan worked so hard to control, one question echoes louder than ever. Where are Archie and Lilibet? Were they hidden for safety or hidden for story? Maybe the official story is true, maybe it isn't. But one thing is certain, in Meghan's world, the truth isn't told, it's directed. Maybe the story of Meghan and her children was never about motherhood at all, but about control. A narrative so tightly scripted that even reality had to bend to fit the frame. Every smile rehearsed, every tear timed, every private moment conveniently captured when the world was watching. What began as a fairy tale has started to feel like a performance, and Doria's quiet confession was the moment the curtain slipped, because when a mother admits she's never seen her own grandchildren, the illusion collapses, the brand cracks, the story unravels, and behind the glittering facade, all that's left are questions no one wants answered. Maybe Meghan crafted her truth for protection. Maybe she built it for attention. But after years of contradictions, silence, and cinematic storytelling, one haunting thought remains. Perhaps the camera was never there to document her life. It was there to rewrite it. If you want to see how far this pattern of deception and secrecy really goes, watch my previous investigation about UN covering Meghan's Soho House past. You're watching Star Spotlight, where the truth hides between the headlines.